Hey everybody, it's Mike Meyers, and here we are on the second of the Ask Mike Anything CompTIA or something relatively related discussions here on YouTube. Uh, this is a open forum, and we give you the welcome you to ask any questions you want in terms of technology, anything you might want to talk about. So I've actually moved upstairs. This is my groovy office where all the magic is made, and I've got a little more space to work here, and I kind of like it up here. It's a little bit more comfortable, and I look so much prettier too, don't I? Anyway, Timmy, there we go. So anyway, what I'd like to do is drop in and say hello, and let's get in some opportunities. Start throwing in some questions. Pretty much anything you want. Dr. Quinn, hey Mike, hope everyone in your circle is safe and well. Thank you so much for these live videos. No problem, Dr. Quinn. Yeah, I got to tell you though, I can think the hardest part for me about this whole virus here in Houston, we have a stay-at-home rule or strong suggestion or whatever you want to call it. And for an extrovert like me, okay, I'm going to have to turn down. I got a lot of communication going in the background. There we go. And for an extrovert like me, the camera will figure himself out in a minute. Don't worry about it. For an extrovert like me to be, hanging out mainly by myself it's kind of tough. So this is actually a good opportunity for me to get out there and talk. I just wish there was a way for people to talk back. Unfortunately, we do not have that. It's a stream. But yeah, I mean, I'm getting to the point I'm starting to put hash marks on the walls where I'll see how much longer this is all going to last. And you hear so many different things. So anyway, David Rush says audio way down. I don't know what that means. Maybe he wants me to turn it up. Maybe he wants me to turn it down. I don't know what that means. Hey, Jay, yay, Verva, yep. Audio's low. I can turn it up. That's for sure. Is that better? Can you guys hear me meow? Okay, nobody's responding, so I will assume we're okay. There, we got a couple. Thank you, guys. Okay. Yes, okay. Woo. All right. You got the time right. Yeah, Leo, welcome, man. So, hey, just so you know, I mean, we're going to be doing this every day. So I'm really looking at this as an opportunity for us to, for you guys who are working towards your A plus or Net plus or Security plus or IT fundamentals. This. I look at this as a study group as much as just a ask me anything. I see this developing conceptually, where we'll get to the point where, yeah, Monday through Friday at 2:00, we'll start getting to the point where we can put more structure to this. But right now, I want to see what you guys want, because I can talk about almost anything you wanted to. So it's really up to you guys to drive this a little bit. We had some questions yesterday, for example, on storage. I thought we might talk about that today if that person's still around. But again, I'm wide open to anything you might want to hear. So with that attitude in mind, looks like we're getting a whole bunch of things coming in. What happens to DEF CON Vegas casinos? Our sad face. Yeah, that is. I haven't been to DEF CON in years, but I used to go there. It was fun. Black hat. So Terrence Williams, studying for your Security Plus. Good man. Okay, here they come. Why is the A plus and the Linux plus certs in two parts, but Net plus is still one very large exam? Because they set it up that way a really long time ago. A plus is actually, if you go way back, like in the early 90s, back in my day, A plus was actually 3 exams. It was a hardware exam. Then it was they called it a Windows exam. And then they had, believe it or not, a Apple exam. That disappeared years ago. It's just the way they've been doing it for a while. But there was attempts probably about 10 years ago to chop the A plus up into like 7 exams. And that just didn't go over real well with anybody. It got too complicated. So like there'd be the core exam, and then there'd be like the guys who help desk person or a field tech or some other second exam. It got a little crazy. So habit is the right answer. Just habit. So Sign Pi is a fellow Houstonian. You live in Katy. You're not a Houstonian. You live in Katy, Texas. Isn't that Sealy or San Antonio or something down there on I-10? I'm teasing. Welcome aboard, Sign Pie. Hey, there's Paul. Okay. All right, Paul, Paul, you need to ask me a question. Don't ask me a question like, why hard drives, or, ask me a question about something that's bothering you. I assume that the questions we'll be getting here are for people who are studying, and it doesn't have to be my books or videos or anything, but it means that you've done some studying and that you have a confusion, or you need some more detail. If you guys really want me to spend an hour talking about, I don't know, old different types of GPT versus MFT boots, I can do that, but I'd like to think we could spend our time better than that. If that's really the questions you have, I'm prepared to do it, though. Hi, Phil DC. Yes, I rock. You rock, man. I'm studying A+ and Net+ this year. Your videos and books are all I need to watch. Love live streams. Thank you, Phil. All right, I'm still getting people. People are still hollering at me because they don't like my sound, so I'm going to punch it up a little bit more. I should never have closed it. What was wrong with me? Yeah, bear with me a minute, kids. Okay, this is my last time I'm turning it up. So I'll gamble that's better. But from here on in, kids, we're going to have to figure it out on your own there. Okay. I'm here for your personality, Mike. You make learning more enjoyable. First of all, thank you for that. But I got to tell you, like 1 billion years ago, when I first started getting into IT, there was like two kinds of training. There was the first kind of training was like, transistor to transistor logic and AND gates and NOR gates and stuff like that. And then there was, hi, I'm Timmy the Mouse. And it was like, that was way too easy. And the other stuff was, I'm not saying it was too hard. TTL logic is actually fascinating if you ever get a chance to really understand how electricity can make video games work. But there was nothing in the middle. Everybody's got their black box, right? This is something you're always going to hear from me. People who just want to make the computer go so they can get to Google, their black box is very big. They don't want to get into the technology. People are way down, like I say in Texas, down in the Gators, where they really want to get down to the chip level stuff. Those are little tiny black boxes. But as a tech, I find most people are somewhere in the middle. So that's really the reason I started doing all this stuff years ago, was nobody was writing anything I needed. And every time I write a book or do a video, I'm always thinking about the person who's actually learning this. Man, I got to tell you, as nerds, we love to pontificate. I'm literally pontificating as I complain about pontification. How about that? But the people forget, when you start getting a lot of skills, you forget where other people were when they were starting out to learn this stuff. And you move your thought process way up or way down, depending on how you look at it as a black box level, and you forget about the learners. And so for me, I'm always thinking about that. I get into a panic if I write a book and I define a term, or I just say a term without it being clearly defined. Oh, it drives me insane. And all of my competitors do it. I work really hard to not do it. And every now and then I caught one. In fact, we just caught one a couple of weeks ago. It's very embarrassing. So thanks. I'm trying hard to. Okay, we've got a Jane Slayer with lots of numbers. Why hard drives? Why not soft drives? You're a funny guy. Mute. My boss remembers the 3-part A+. Your boss is old like me then, buddy. I want to share experience. I just finished cleaning out my PC tower with air compressor 2 days ago and fried the PSU. Is it possible to spin fan and generate current and blow capacitors? Your power supply is the most breaking part of a desktop computer, especially with SSDs now. I mean, power supplies take abuse and cat hair and people kicking it and yanking out power cords and dirt and that sits in the back of your desk, and just never gets good air. And so, yeah, the answer is power supplies go. I've got big chapters on testing power supplies. I don't repair power supplies, although if you're good with the soldering iron, it's not that hard to do, mainly because good power supplies are cheap and well tested, which is something I am not very good at, is actually testing components and making sure they all work out well. So for me, that's a field replaceable unit, as CompTIA used to say. And when I have problems with the CPU, I yank it out and I go buy a new one, and then I keep going. Okay, so Paul, here we go. So let's go ahead and this is a question Paul Murphy had yesterday. He's wondering about the MBR and GPT difference. I was watching the video on A+ performance-based questions. I was wondering why be asked on the test. So technically, it's illegal for me to talk about actual CompTIA questions, Paul, so I can't do that. But according to CompTIA, I can discuss what they call our specific topics based on the objectives as they're listed. And I believe it's been a while exactly what the objective says for GPT versus MBR. But the important thing is to understand is, what does GPT bring to the table that MBR lacked? And for me, more than anything else that's going to be bringing to the table is that you get a ton more partitions. I know we live in a universe right now where everybody's got one big C drive for the most part, but that always changes. As drive capacities grow and grow, we start running into problems with sometimes the operating system not able to handle larger partitions, sometimes the BIOS not able to handle larger partitions, and sometimes drivers not able to handle larger partitions. And we've been going through this for years, where after a while, something gets improved. Like, so going from MBR to GPT, where I have somebody double check me on, I believe it's 4,096 partitions now. Who would ever need that many partitions? I remember sitting around going 640K. Who would ever need that much RAM? Because we're paranoid and we do it. So that's one of the big things. GPT has a lot of other big benefits, but for me, that's the one that stands out. Okay, Phil in DC. Mike, what certifications next step after A+ and Net+? Well, Phil, what do you want to do? And this is like, I got these questions yesterday, and I really got to stress this. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I mean that in fun, of course, but what I'm saying is that IT is a very broad area. And I know people who do great just running little mom and pop repair shops. Well, they're also fixing a lot of phones, but people who like that. There are people who are going for the degrees and are turning into more administrative, executive level people. I got people who sit inside server rooms all day and tweak on routers and server systems and have fun with that. There are people out there who like writing code. There are people who are security experts. So after you do the A+ and Net+, in my opinion, if you don't know where to go, and you should start getting some ideas now. I mean, if you finish your A+, you have some sense of router configuration. You have some sense of network support. You have some concept of operating system administration and things like that. Start zeroing that in, and then tell me what you want to be when you grow up, and then I'll answer the question for you. Oh, I rub my nose. Corona. I'm currently studying the network section of A+, tips for remembering the port numbers and uses. Man, I got to tell you, and CompTIA does hit those. Wait till you get to Net+. Woof. And then when you get to Security+, they just assume you know them all, and you'll get questions like, wow, it's a port 23, or that kind of a thing. There's no clever mnemonics. It's rote memorization. Everybody says, Mike, you should make tables. I'm not a big fan of tables as a personal learning tool, but I do believe that you making tables for yourself that makes sense to you, or often just the making of the table, is a great memorization tool. Batman 9002 passed 2 weeks ago. Congrats with Professor Messer. Professor Messer's a nice guy. I've actually met him. Real nice guy. He's got a great little program. He looks at technology in a different way than me, but he's very accurate, and he really extends to his students, and I think he's a great guy. And look, I never, ever have a problem with people working with multiple sources. This is often a problem when you're studying for anything, is that if you zero in with just one person, a lot of times everybody has some bias to the way they think and talk and the logic and how they write practice questions and all that stuff. And I think it's always a good idea to use multiple sources whenever you can. So good. Professor Messer's a great guy. So I got a question from Nancy Meadows. Hey, Nancy Meadows, what's the advantage to using basic disk? Gosh, I would probably say what would be more interesting is what's the advantage to using dynamic disk? I mean, a basic disk is, even with Windows 10, you have a lot of the capabilities that used to be just in dynamic disk. You can do them with basic disk today. So, God, don't catch me on all these. I could, with a basic disk, I'm pretty sure, here, yeah, I can like extend volumes, things like that. To me, the biggest advantage to using dynamic disk anymore is if you want to take advantage of Windows RAID functionality, dynamic disk could be very handy. Dynamic disks are also good as a quick and dirty, oh, geez, I've run out of hard drive. I need to slap in another drive fast, and you can extend onto another physical drive. That would be a repair scenario. That would not be a long-term fix. And things like that. That's where dynamic disk come into play. Honestly, most of the work I do is with basic disks. My question to you is, SignPi. My question to you is, would you recommend any communities or groups that I could join to be a part of to get more into cybersecurity or networking in the Houston area, or a place they hang out? Man, SignPi, do I have an old man hat around here? Here, this is close enough. Back in the old days, Houston used to have this thing called HowPC, the Houston Area League of PC Users. And it was a wonderful place. You hung out, drank coffee, played with Linux, stuff like that. It's all gone. I don't feel society is as much a physical connection anymore as it used to be. Everything's very remote. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It just is. So there are a lot of sources out there. Scott Jernigan says Reddit. Yeah, okay. I'm not against Reddit. We won't get into the reasons why I'm not a big fan of Reddit personally, but it's my understanding it has a very healthy and active CompTIA support group. The other thing is a lot of these online folks have lots of different kinds of communities. I'm going to have to think about that question because I don't want to get anybody mad or extra happy. So I'm going to hold on to that question for a little bit. Nancy Meadows, I can't believe you asked me that question. That's a great question, though. Do you still need to study the CPU sockets types like? And that's from Tashara. Yeah, Tashara, you need to study at least pick 2 or 3 of the sockets, of the most common sockets on both the Intel and AMD side, and you'll be fine. You don't have to go nuts. You're not going to get any questions. It's like, how many pins? That stuff's not going to happen. Terrence Williams says that IT is a deep and wide ocean of opportunities. It is that, sir. Hey, Mike, with the massive convergence of technologies, e.g. networking and programming or security being a part of everything, how do you truly specialize without being a jack of all trades? Well, because you usually start off a bit jack of all trades in some entry-level job, and you start to find your niche, and you often usually define it yourself. And that's kind of how it happens. Or you can become a jack of all trades and be a teacher. Steve G from Toronto. Hey, Toronto. I think the what certs question are the same thing every time, and they're boring. Yeah, but they're important because we have new people, and I'm glad to ask them all the time. I'm changing career at 25. Oh, you old man. And doing my CompTIA A+. Is this a good route into IT? 6 weeks? Sorry, I'm getting multiple inputs here. 6 weeks experience. I was slightly younger. Love the experience. Never chase my dreams now. Anthony, yeah, welcome aboard. I have students as young as like 11 and 12, and I have students in their 80s. Look, people always want qualified people who can do good work. And 25 is, I wouldn't want to be 25 anymore, but I like where I'm at. But anyway, the bottom line is that you can find yourself where you want to be in terms of what do you enjoy? Do you like writing code? Do you like being an administrator? What do you want to be? And kind of zero in on that. And that's going to help a lot. Okay, JS. After A+, I'm wanting to get into repair building PCs. What is a good direction for certs? Honestly, if you're going to go just on system building, A+ may be all you need. The tricky part right now is that because desktops are starting to fade from view, you're probably going to have a little bit of a challenge. There's lots of mom and pop shops out there, and I'm not saying they're doing great or they're hurting particularly, but it's very nichey right now. And it can be tricky to get into that kind of stuff. Probably the best place to do is start doing repairs for everybody. And also, don't lock yourself into desktops. Be good at fixing laptops. Be good at fixing smartphones. And, give yourself, a little bit of availability at that level. Steve G. Raymond, Discord does have lots of good chat rooms. Absolutely. Is the CASP just CYSA and PenTest combined? How much new material? So, no, it's not. It goes into a lot of depth on security that I got to tell you, when I took CASP, I failed. I went in cold, and that's why the CYSA Plus was in there, was to act as kind of an intermediary. It's much more scenario based. And I wouldn't call it pen test. I'd call it more like, I don't know, more from the inside of the system, vulnerability testing, that kind of thing. It's a challenging little exam. Have I been to Black Hat? Twice. 3 times. I have a lot of physical security experience, security cameras, access control systems, looking to get in physical social engineering. I'm not sure what physical social engineering is, but I can tell you probably one of the weakest areas in IT security these days are people who are comfortable with physical security. And a lot of times they come from larger businesses. And it's I can find 1,000 guys to configure a router. And when I say guys, I mean gals too. Sorry, I'm from St. Louis. It's how we talk. But people who are into, making proper secure door locks and stuff like that. Good camera systems are very popular. Do I network in Security Plus and Essential to get into this profession, or businesses not looking for these certs? Lots of folks are looking at these certs. The problem that, and I really got to say this over and over again, if you think you're going to go pick up an A+ and Net Plus and the world's going to knock in your door, it's not. Certification only puts your resume towards the top of the stack, and you still have to have you have to have good technical skills. You have to show some kind of experience. We'll talk about that in a minute. You have to have a decent presence. You have to be willing to go where the job is. You have to be willing to get paid junk for the first 6 to 12 months as you start leapfrogging around. But experience is a big thing, and something that people are always telling me, I don't have any experience. How can I get in? First of all, you need to find the entry-level jobs. They're all out there. There's lots of them out there, and you just have to look at the right place. Most of the time, on an individual basis, when I run into somebody who can't find a job, 9 times out of 10, they're like, I'm not willing to work from 4 to midnight, or I'm not willing to leave tiny town USA and get to a place that has jobs, or I'm not willing to live in a van all day and go to people's houses and fix laptops. So a lot of times people are self-limiting, but at least in terms of experience, there are some things you can do. There are lots of charitable groups out there that are always looking for help. Everybody has a computer in some fashion. Get good at it. Help people, help your relatives, help your friends. Then ask your friends who they might know, and you would be shocked how quickly you can get making money just by asking around. And what, you're afraid you don't know how to fix anything? Come on, between iFixit, calling Mike Meyers on the phone, all that kind of stuff, you're always going to run into stuff that's always going to be a challenge. And if you're afraid, then don't be in IT, because nobody has all the answers. Every time I approach some kind of problem, like I've got a camera that won't stay in focus right now, it's slightly irritating. I have to poke around and figure out how to fix it. So here's a favorite analogy I do all the time. Okay. I used to drive a Ford F-250. I live in Texas. We have pickup trucks. So Could you run, you ready? Could you run the windshield wipers in my Ford F-250? Yes or no? Well, most people are going to sit there and go, yeah, I could probably run the windshield wipers. I'm like, whoa, are you Ford certified? Do you have windshield wiper certification? No, you have experience in that type of stuff and you can figure it out. You might have to poke around a little bit, might even have to refer to a manual if it's a real weird windshield wiper, but I'll bet in a couple of minutes you could be making a windshield wiper go low and high and even squirting water on the windshield. But you have to be a little bit fearless in this industry. Paul Murphy, you found out about Mike Meyers on Reddit? Woohoo! Yeah, Reddit. The front page of the internet. Hello, this is from William Tell. That's a great name. Hello, I was wondering what could be the reason that would make someone build a RAID array instead of making backups. Thanks. That's a great question. So, what we're talking about is reliability of data, right? So if I have, well, let's come with a simple scenario. I have a big database that is really, really, really important, and it's supporting all these people who are buying stuff online, and it's really critical. And yeah, I'll do backups, but with a RAID array, if something goes down, it never stops. It just keeps working. And with the right kind of RAID array, you can actually go in there and hot swap a drive, and you just keep going like everything's fine. So RAID arrays allow us, depending on how you look at this, so there's a lot of different levels of RAID, but most people that I've run into install RAID arrays because they don't even want to have to restore from backup. If the whole RAID array goes down, then yeah, they got a backup and they can restore, but that's an ugly scenario. That is the system is down scenario, and that's something we want to avoid. RAID arrays allow us to have failure without going down. Okay. Mike, what is your recommendation to A+ really quick in terms of learning? Well, this is Amadula. Sound right? So the quickest way. Yeah. I always love this. I used to train a very large federal organization that had 3 letters and guns, and had this one guy in the back, and he's just old geezer kind of guy. He's probably 10 years younger than me back then. And he's sitting there, and I'm talking about hard drives and operating, and the guy sitting there goes, I want to know where the log files are. And it's like, well, trying to teach you that is like trying to teach somebody chess, right? And I'm trying, well, here's a pawn, and here's the queen, and here's the bishop. And no, I don't want to learn about that stuff. Just show me how to checkmate. And it doesn't work that way, man. So really fast is a matter of your ability to pick up information. I have a series of passport books that are kind of sort of just the facts. My dream is that nobody wants to do this fast. People want to do it well. I have a great passion for technology. I love this stuff. I'm terrified when, and I'm not picking on you, Abdallah. You're not the first person to ask a question like that. But it's like, I need to get a job. I'm going to go get A+ certified, and I'm going to get a job. So show me how to get an A+ fast. Well, no. You have to have passion. If you don't have passion for technology, seriously, and you're just looking to make a lot of money fast, I'd become an electrician. They make ridiculously good money, and and you can get there pretty quick. So I'm not chastising you per se, but what I'm saying is, most people I know can usually get A+ certified from ground zero in about 120 hours of training. There's a huge variance in that, depending on your study skills, experience, all kinds of stuff like that. If you ever look at my A+ books, we have put a nice little metric in the front, and you can actually kind of go through there and based on your experience, kind of get a guesstimate of how many hours of study it's going to take for you. And then figure out how many hours a day you can study, and then how long it's going to take. So motivated people can do it pretty quick. But honestly, my books, my video, my practice questions with the simulations, and you'd be set. Oh, okay, we got that one. So, Tassos, I remember you from yesterday. Oh, guys, I just touched something. I've lost it all. Ah. Darn, sorry guys. There's so many questions I've kind of lost track. Did I find? There's Paul again. There you are, Toss. Woo. Okay, if you are an IT in a company, is it best to have setup configuration for each PC a backup, or have a server that each has its own space? Are we talking Windows? Because Windows can make that a lot of that pretty easy. I do make a recovery thumb drive for all my individual systems. I probably don't need to do that as much as I used to, but just to bring the system back up. I got to be honest, if you wanted in a Windows network, if you wanted me to be able to recover stuff quickly, not write down, but do something where I have local administrator access to all the different systems. That saves me a lot of time, particularly on hardware type situations. Is PCIe slower than the address bus? So you got to keep in mind, the address bus is really more of a conceptual thing. It does exist, but the address bus, which we would traditionally think of the interconnection between, which we used to call the North Bridge, and the CPU has disappeared and has become part of the CPU itself. So, man, I'd have to think about that a little bit. Does the equivalent of the address bus on a modern i7 run at the speed of the CPU? No, there's a step down value. I don't remember what it is, but is PCIe slower? Probably a little bit slower, but not terribly. Not like Powers of 10. Anyone else from Toronto? I'll let y'all figure that out. Why do you think the CompTIAs are worded in such a strange way? Is there an academic purpose? They're better than they used to be, a lot better than they used to be. CompTIA has been working hard to really use better rule sets for writing questions. I don't have the right terminology here. And I think they do a lot better than they used to. And a lot of times, the other thing, this is what always kills me about people. I took your training material and I failed the A+, and Mike Meyers stinks. Okay, all right, whatever. Most of the time when I run into that, what I discover is that a lot of people have much less skill with multiple choice question taking than they should. And what happens is that CompTIA is really good about writing really long questions that really only one sentence is needed to figure out the whole thing. And you've got to take your time and parse these types of questions. Timmy is a great guy, and Timmy is from Sioux Falls, and Timmy has a bad piece of RAM, and Timmy works on Tuesdays. What's wrong with the system? Kind of questions. And some of them are almost that bad. So a lot of that bad wording, I think, comes from where they're trying to make more challenging questions, and in my opinion, failing to get what they're trying to get to. Steve G. I remember Steve G. Is there a good, reliable website that checks compatibility and bottlenecks of certain hardware combos? None that I have, but I'm going to let the guys... All right, so one of my guys at the office says RAID is not a backup. RAID is not a backup. I didn't say RAID was a backup. I said RAID allows systems to stay online. See, even I have to fight with my guys. So, yeah, RAID's not a backup, Michael. I know that. No, Steve G, I'm not aware of any one website that checks compatibility. Even Microsoft's almost given up on what we used to call the hardware compatibility list. It's very tricky to go through that. What brand of SSD drive do you recommend performance-wise? I go for cheap. I find SSDs, as long as I've got good reliability, I'm trying to remember what I've bought recently. Probably Seagate? No. Samsung's, I think, is what I've been buying lately. I've been happy with them. Okay. Hey, I'm glad to see you getting lots of help here. Okay. All right. Sahib, hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well too, sir. Philip, my ISP said I couldn't upgrade Microchip router board to a dual band ASUS router. Is this true? Or I don't know. Philip, that's something I'd have to research to be able to help you. I wouldn't be able to answer that right off the top of my head. Mike, what's the difference between 220.901 and 902 and 221? What I think you mean 1001 and 1002. This is Vimal. Well, CompTIA every 3 years has to update their exams. This is part of the, I think it's the ISO 27000, don't hold me to that, standards that say for our type of examination, if we're not updating it every 3 years, then we're not staying on top of things. So there was a number of differences. That would be a long one to go through, guys. I cannot name quickly off the top of my head a broad number of differences between 901, 902, 1001, 1002. They update them. There's more scripting on the 1002. You're welcome, Homer 1075. Anthony, thank you, Mike. I want to go down the network engineering route eventually, so I'm guessing CCNA or something would be the best route. Yeah, look, if you're going to be in that network engineering, you're going to be a Cisco guy. Go with Cisco. It's just assumed knowledge, and you're not going to stop with CCNA either. Are you planning any courses other than CompTIA and Network Plus? So, Saqib, you got to be careful. CompTIA is an organization. They offer a broad cross-section of examinations. They offer the CompTIA A+, CompTIA Network Plus, CompTIA Security Plus, which are and CompTIA IT Fundamentals, which most people consider those the more base courses. They have quite a few more courses. I'm looking at all kinds of stuff all the time, but I ain't saying nothing here today. Have I taken the CISSP? I have not. No interest in going that route. I'm more interested. I like to stay in my lane, and my lane is to stay with the more core, the more rudimentary stuff. I would never take a CISSP. Moses Park, is your total tester like the real CompTIA A+? Would the exam surprise me? Of course the exam's going to surprise you, but we work really hard, and kudos to the developers at Total Seminars, Michael Smyer in particular, who've done such a great job of helping try to even keep the general look and feel of the exam itself. And the trick there is that, sorry, I'm getting multiple inputs again. Where was I? God, I totally lost track where I'm at. I forgot. Moving on. How much RAM would you recommend for a VirtualBox server plus SCCM plus 3 workstations plus Linux? A lot. But it's not the SCCM that's going to be making your RAM needs. It's going to be the virtualization. For any big virtual or real server, 32 gigs is kind of like my low end anymore. We have a lot of servers that have a lot more than that. Michael Smyer, am I lying that we don't have sitting on some of our big boxes like 128 gigs of RAM? I've got a little thing here where my guys are helping me out. 32 would be an absolute minimum, but okay, let's go with that. 32 is an absolute minimum. Vimal Lad, I haven't got A+, but I have a plan to do CCNA certificate exam. Would that be fine, or do I have to first pass CompTIA A+? Vimal, you don't have to take anything. I don't think there's any prerequisites for CCNA. I think Cisco has a kind of a fundamentals course, which last I heard was not recommended, but you're gonna have to double check with Cisco on that. You do not have to take A+. Would you want to? It's such a natural progression of A+, Net Plus to me that I always say yes, and that's not just because I make money selling books. I like the way CompTIA gets your brain into IT. You don't need A+. You would probably want to consider Net Plus first. One of the reasons I like Net Plus is because it gives you an unbiased view of a lot of networking stuff, things like DNS or DHCP or VPNs or VLANs. CompTIA does a good job at Network Plus looking at it in a very vendor neutral way. Whereas if your first taste of VLANs is through Cisco, you're going to get a very Cisco kind of feeling about that. How are we doing on time? Wow, we're burning daylight here, aren't we? So yes, Moses, I'm sorry, I remember. My total tester is like the real CompTIA A+. It's as close as I can get to not getting in trouble. Also, always remember that CompTIA, when you sit and take the exam, you got all this stuff you need to read. One of the things it says is that we can put in beta questions anytime we want. And it seems that they do. Some test more than others, sometimes more, it depends. But the bottom line is that CompTIA loves to put those questions, in my opinion, at the very beginning of your exam. So you've been studying and you've been working hard and you sit down to take the exam. And the first thing you do is you see 3 questions that you have no idea what they are. And you're like, that Mike Meyers is terrible training material. He's a jerk. No, what's probably happening is you're running into these beta questions. And the challenge with these beta questions is that they throw you. Don't let them throw you. Just make your best answers. There's only going to be a few. They seem to be always at the front. And just move on. The number one reason people fail CompTIA exams is not lack of knowledge. It's test anxiety. People freak out. And it's you always think it's the younger people who freak out. It's the older people who freak out. Maybe because they realize they spent all this money, practice, buying training materials and all this. You got to stay cool. And remember, it's D for diploma. Nobody cares what score you got on a CompTIA exam. I've never heard of anybody who interviews who asks that question. So don't sweat it and take your time and get through it. And then you'll do fine. By the way, you know what the number 2 reason people fail CompTIA exams? They know too much, because they're going to they'll look at some question and they're going to go, oh, well, 2 plus 2 can equal 5 in certain situations. And they overthink the questions and they get them wrong. So the other big problem I run into with CompTIA is people who know it real well, and they just want to sit there and point at the question. They go, well, if a Tuesday, if the gravity's weak, well, that could happen. It's like, that's not what they're trying to do with these questions. Keep it simple, and you're going to do fine. One of the things I love is Tulawit. One of the things I love about IT is that there is always something new to learn. It's definitely not a stagnant field, man. I got to tell you, I kind of get paid to play with toys and stay on top of stuff, and I'm constantly amazed at how little I actually know. Leo Nosik, do you know any good resources for learning assembly language? Assembly? I'm going to see if the guys have any answers on that. I haven't done assemblers since the early 80s, so you really have a BA program that still makes you do assembler. That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, we might have some ideas. Stand by. How would you write a resume for an IT position? Moses, there's so many great resources for writing resumes out there. We don't go into that because it's not really a test question per se, but there's lots of good resources out there. I mean, literally just Google what you just typed me and you're going to get a better answer than me. The one thing I will tell you is that don't overwhelm people with your list of skill sets. We don't want to know that you're good at Microsoft Word, okay? I mean, unless the job is like Microsoft Word instructor, you don't fill us up with your ability to use Lotus 123 or older stuff like that. Keep on top of it. One place you might want to consider is Udemy. Has a bunch of really, really good courses for assembly. But if you might also look at Lynda. Lynda is also an amazing resource, and you check those out for videos. But so if you're looking for that kind of stuff, we could go that route. Okay, where are we at here? Rastalov Nut. It's a good Irish name there. Hi, Mike. I'm pursuing A+, Net+, Security Plus from you to achieve Microsoft Server Systems. I am willing to be a system administrator. Is my goal from now real? Okay, Radislav. Yes, your goal is very real. I always like A+, Net+. I'm not sure Security Plus would be the way to go. I think you'd want to start moving towards Microsoft Securities immediately after Network Plus. Security Plus is a great course. It's a fabulous course. But I would only really recommend it for people who are really thinking about security as a career going forward. Paul, oh God, okay. RAID 1 will back up one of your HDs, though. RAID 1? Yeah, mirror. I had to think about that for a minute. Yeah, I mean, you're making a mirror, so technically it is a backup in that fashion. But you got to remember, there's a lot more to backup than this simply making another copy. What if the whole system catches on fire, right? What if there's a corruption on the controller that trashes both drives? There's a lot more to that. Mirroring is fine, but it's not a backup. RAID is not a backup, so you always want to keep that in mind. Oh, I make backups. Okay. Where are we at? Samsung Evo. Yep, I got no problem with those. Holy smoke, guys. I've been holding the scroll bar, and now there's like a gazillion more. I'm trying here, kids. Also, keep in mind, if I don't get to your question, I will be here every Monday through Friday at 2 o'clock Central Daylight Time. So if I don't get to you today, I will be here tomorrow. I absolutely guarantee it. I think it's fun and exciting that I'm getting so many questions, but don't worry. If I can't do it today, I'll be doing it soon. Oh, here's Moses again. Wait, Philip, is there an easier way to remember printer troubleshooting and how important it is to know printers for A+? There are some pretty good questions on the A+ for printers, and they're still there. If you're using my training materials, keep in mind a lot of the stuff I talk about in printers is the historical conceptual stuff, but also we've got to keep in mind that we have things like the laser printing process and stuff like that. The questions you will see on the A+ are, this printer is doing this. It is this kind of printer. What do I do to fix it? So the big thing I would be working on more than anything else when I'm dealing with printer problems is looking for questions that talk about, my laser printer is printing pure black, or my laser printer is printing jumbled numbers, or my dot matrix, and there are dot matrix questions on the A+. My dot matrix printer is printing dark to light, that kind of stuff. Hang on, guys, one sec. Woo! Okay. How do you know you're old when Mike talks about PATA cables and you pull one out of a drawer under your Netgear 104 hub? I tell you, Homer 1075, I understand. I got them too. Okay. Okay. Oh, also, guys, listen, I've got a special offer for y'all. Hey, Total Seminars, guys, I need you to stop typing for a minute. Okay. Just because you're nice enough to show up here today, Total Seminars is offering 50% off of everything on our catalog at hub.totalsem.com. So all you have to do is go, Michael Smyer, confirm me, it's the hub.totalsem.com, right? hub.totalsem.com, and all you have to do is type in this code, MMLive30. Guys, see that? And literally everything we have is 50% off. I'm not sure how long we're going to be keeping this up. If you're looking for practice questions and simulations, those are the two things people always want to go for. And but everything is 50% off across the board. Head over to totalsem.com, and I need Michael Smyer. Is it hub.totalsem.com, or is it just www. You know what? Just go to Totalsem, T-O-T-A-L, totalsem.com. Everything across the board is 50% off, which is a great deal. William Tell, why Microsoft abandoned their certifications? They did not abandon. They're doing plenty of certifications. Is drive image a thing to go for? I'm not sure what that means. Drive images are things that we use them here at Total all the time. Like if we're cloning laptops for courses and things like that. So yeah. Thank you, Batman 9002. I'm trying. This is kind of new, brave new world for me here, and I'm sure we'll improve over time. I don't see me doing this for less than a month. I see me doing this for an extended period of time. I like doing it, and it's a we're going. This is only the second day. It's only going to get better from here. Logan Skaggs, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. So, Shadow Colossus 103, I am unfamiliar with YouTube's COPPA policies. So, sorry, I don't know. Is that something I need to worry about? Okay. Logan Skaggs, I'm giving my students fundamental IFT to seniors. If they pass the certification, is it a 1-year exam or 3? I assume it's 3. Scott Jernigan, can I have some inside information there, buddy? 3 years. Radislav, I'm 200 pages to the end from your book. Amazing job. Thanks, man. Giving me a big head. Yeah, Gino, we all still have those cables laying somewhere. Will I play the new Doom Eternal? I'll probably play it. Just like right now, I'm a little buried. This Corona thing's got me weirded out pretty hard, to be honest with you. I've been playing, believe it or not, Age of Empires. Age of Empires, they came up with a new HD version and, new animations. And this 21-year-old game's been revamped, and I'm having fun. Crystal ball, please. Azure or AWS? Keeping Jedi in mind. I'm far more familiar with AWS, but I've never heard anybody complain about Azure, so I'm not gonna play either way on that. I think they're both great. We at Total Seminars use, we'll just call it, we use AWS, and it works fine. Microsoft is planning to remove their certificate next January 1st. Andrew, I haven't heard of this. I am definitely going to look into that. Microsoft's been providing certifications for almost 30 years. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying thank you for the information, and I will look into it and see what that's all about. So, Shucks 512. Is that 512 an area code by any chance? Just finished your A+ Udemy course. Was great. Thank you very much. Philip's back. Is it necessary to pay $3,000? $3,000. That seems high. There are a lot of private tech schools that provide a lot of stuff way beyond simply getting you an A+ and Net+. And these schools provide fundamentals of knowledge. They have connections to employers directly, and you usually go from them straight to almost guaranteed a job. There can be reasons to pay that kind of money. If the only thing that trainer is offering you is learning the A+ and Net+, then Philip, in my opinion, you're paying too much money. Grab a book, grab a couple of old systems, watch some videos online, and you can do it yourself. It really depends on your motivation. Also depends on who's paying for it. A lot of times you got an employer, they're like, hey, we'll pay for you to go to the school, but if you do it on your own, you got to pay for it yourself. Well, then go to the school. But in terms of raw dollars, sorry, Scott, my nose itches. That seems kind of high, in my opinion. Gil Gilbert. Do collusion and fraud mean the same thing for the SY05 501? Yeah, 501, that's right. I don't think they would, collusion and fraud are different words, right? They have different definitions. I don't think they do. Does anybody else want to touch that one? Yeah, what are my favorite PC games? I went back to World of Warcraft Classic for a while, but I don't know. It kind of faded on that. I have one of those Steam accounts where I have like 200 games, and I've opened maybe like 40 of them. IT folks, Tulawit, IT folks are cable and adapter collectors. I've got closets of this stuff. Moses Park, does Ford still work at Total Sem? No. Ford is playing Mr. Mom. His wife has finished her, she's a doctor now, and he's got kids, and he's having a blast. He does some work for us, time to time freelance. We stay in contact with Ford. He lives fairly close by, and yeah, no, he's living the high life, man. He's doing great. Scott Jernigan's going to give me you heard it here first, folks. Scott Jernigan is giving me a free copy of Doom Eternal, okay? And you know what, Scott? Just for that, I'm going to type in something for you here, buddy. Scott, all you got to do is go to hub.totalsem.com and then type in this code, MMLive30, and you can get 50% off of all of the Hub products. There you go. So, and by the way, guys, that's for everybody. I'm just throwing that back out one more time. Yeah, Homer. Yeah, Homer, I'm glad to do this. I know so many people are studying. They've lost their classroom, and they've lost their classroom, and a lot of people are studying alone. That's what I'm here for. And especially as we develop this a little bit more, we'll get to the point where we can help more people out. Oh, it's getting close to 3. I'm not seeing anything that definitely supports Microsoft giving up their certs, but I mean, we got a little information. My buddy Dave Rush is showing me some stuff here, and so we'll take a look. Paul Murphy, can I use the discount code for the A+ book? No, the discount code is just for our online products. Even we at Total Seminars can't get discounts on the A+ book. Isn't that crazy? Talk to McGraw-Hill. MCP, MCSA, and MCSE is outdated. Well, maybe. I'm not going to touch that. I think Microsoft certs have been a really good place. All right, guys, we're getting close here. I got about 3 more minutes. Juvenesky, do you have a recommended way to study to pass watching videos? Okay, first of all, you don't have to buy my books to pass and you can use the videos. The books help a lot. So that's a bit of a challenge. I work really hard. I know lots of people who do well just watching the videos. The one thing I would recommend is you get some practice questions. I sell practice questions. There's about 4 or 5 other companies out there that do a good job selling practice questions, but you really need practice questions as well. So, yes, you can do it that way. So you watch videos and you got the book. What do you recommend? Really, once you go through the videos in a book, if you can get some practice questions, just do practice questions. I mean, if you're so poor you can't buy practice questions, there's a lot of free ones online. Go through those. I can't guarantee their quality, but just do practice questions and just keep doing practice questions until the day of the exam. I miss you too, Logan. So Helvy's asking, should he start with IT fundamentals or go straight to A+? To me, IT fundamentals is a very, very broad topic that is going to cover a lot of users. If you use the analogy of automobiles, IT fundamentals is good for drivers and baby mechanics. But if you know you want to be a mechanic, you could probably go straight into A+. Really, your age and time are a big part of it. I've been Shadow of Colossus is back. Would I ever go to DEF CON? I've gone. It's okay. The problem with DEF CON and even Black Hat these days is all of the speakers are now on YouTube. So my motivation to go there, other than to hang out with some buddies, Electronic Freedom Federation, I'm a big contributor to, stuff like that. Honestly, if you want to learn, you can watch all the speakers on YouTube these days. All right, guys. It looks like I'm at the point where I need to wrap it up. I hope I was helpful to y'all. We will be back here at 2 o'clock Central Daylight Time tomorrow. We will continue to field questions. I guess we did not do enough on hard drives today, but we'll just move it forward to the next day. I think we'll get into a nice settled pace on this eventually, and we'll be able to cover stuff. And so that's all I've got for today. Check out, remember, MM Live 30 for 50% off everything on the Total Seminars Hub. Go for it, and good luck. And hope to see y'all tomorrow. Let's do this again. Bye.